Yo, what's up, folks? How's it going? And today we're talking about macros for M+. So I'm going to have a list in the description of all the macros. It'll either be like a Google Doc or just, I don't know if there's a character limit for the description, but it'll be there somewhere. So there'll be a list of macros for like every single class. But before we get into that, we got this fancy new mug. So don't get tilted. It's got the Narnar logo. It's pretty cute. I got one myself just to make sure that they look okay. And they're pretty good. So I'm going to be using this to drink tea on stream. So if you want to drink tea with me, go ahead and grab one of those. Link will be in the description as well. The first macro I want to talk about is @cursor. So I use this for pretty much any spell that's like not super important that you place it like pixel perfect exactly. But things like Blizzard or Rain of Fire, anything like that, Earthbind Totem, Efflorescence on the Druid, that like green flower circle. So you can macro this to be @cursor. And so this will just make it place the spell wherever your mouse is. So instead of having to click the keybind and then clicking on the actual like map, like where you want to press it, you just press the bind and it'll drop it where your cursor is. And once you get used to it, it's like so much nicer. It seems a little weird at first, but I would say try it out, see if you like it. If you don't like it, it's not for you, but it can save you a little bit of brain power of just having to click one extra time. It just adds up over the key, saving yourself all those extra actions for yourself. So the second one I want to talk about is @player, which is basically the same thing as @cursor. It just drops it wherever your tune is standing. So I primarily use this only on my priest for the feather. So priests have an angelic feather that you can put down, and if you collect it, it'll give you a speed boost. On my priest, I pretty much exclusively use this just for myself because my priest is very slow, so I need all the help I can get. And then I have another keybind, or it's like a modifier basically, that I could place it at my cursor instead if I want, but I don't think I've pressed that at all this expansion. I don't really play my priest that much, but it's just I keybind this @player feather to whatever my like movement speed thing is. So if it's like dash or stampeding roar on my druid, or hover on my evoker, like roll on the monk, the horse thing on the paladin, like whatever your movement speed button is, just slam that right there. And then whenever you're on your priest and you need to move, then it's just automatically under you. You just keep running. I also use this on my hunter. I have a @player frost trap macro, which isn't really too useful this season. I don't know of any mobs that you need it for, but last season in Knock It Offensive, there was a mob that would charge to you and then put a bleed. But if you put a trap on yourself and then just kind of hung out around that trap, when they charge to you, they'll get stunned by the trap and then they won't do the bleed. So it's also probably pretty useful in PvP maybe if there's like a rogue coming out that's going to get you. I'm not a PvPer, so I don't know, but I figured I'd include that in the video. Then the third and probably most important one that I want to talk about is @focus. So I use this primarily just for kicks, but you could use it for other spells as well. But basically what this does is it'll just automatically cast the spell on your focused target, not on the target that you're actually targeting. So say there's a pull, like the first pull of Freehold, where there's an enforcer that you really want to be putting all of your abilities into. And then there's one caster who's like off to the right. If you just set him as focus, and then you could just ignore everything else. You just target the enforcer, do all your damage to him, and then once that mob starts casting, you press your focus kick macro, and it just automatically kicks that one. You don't have to think about it. There's been a lot of times when I've been in a group of people, and I'm like, hey, can you kick X? And then they say yes, and then X starts casting, and say we're fighting like 20 mobs or something. And then they're like, oh no, I can't get the nameplate. Oh no. And then the cast goes off and then we're dead. And it's just like, man, if you just had a focus kick, then it would be easy, because I'm kind of stupid. So I need all the help I can get, especially when there's a bunch of mobs going on. We're like all trying to coordinate. There's ghosts spawning. You have to dispel. Like there's a lot going on in these dungeons. So anything you could do to simplify it is really, really helpful. Like if you take anything from this video, like set up a focus kick macro and play with it a little bit. It's going to be weird at first, but I promise it's so much better. Everyone that I've put onto this, I don't think anyone's ever like not liked it. And everyone's like, oh my God, this is so much easier. Now, the fourth one I want to talk about is mouse over enemy, which saves you a lot of time switching targets and clicking on different enemy nameplates or tab targeting or whatever it is you do to switch targets. So you could just mouse over their nameplate. And then I use this for like Sunfire, Moonfire, Immolation. I think it's called Immolation. Whatever the warlock dot is, I used to use this a lot for when explosives was an affix. So that way you didn't have to like target the explosive and then cast. You'd just mouse over. It was just easy. You just machine gun everything down. Yeah, so the mouse over enemy, you could also use things like Hibernate, Polymorph, Shackle Undead, stuff like that for the incorporeal affix, which is active at the time of recording this. So whenever it spawns, I just mouse over it on my druid and I click my hibernate mouse over and it's gone. Or sleepwalk mouse over on my evoker or whatever your spell is. It just makes it that much easier and you don't have to swap your target. And I don't know, just like I said earlier, like it just takes one step out of your brain that you have to worry about. And then it's just over the course of the key, you add that all up, you save yourself a lot of power. So I still have that on most of my tunes. I use it for mostly spreading dots. You could use it for like taunt. You could even use it for interrupt. So the fifth one is going to be mouse over friendly, which is basically the exact same thing. You could think about using it for the other ghosts, the afflicted, which was last week. So I use this for like mouse over decurse. On my paladin, I have mouse over blessing of sacrifice and blessing of protection. Mouse over like word of glory, things like that. Anything where you need to mouse over like your friendly party or like a friendly mob, which really the only friendly mob is afflicted, I think, that you're going to be mousing over. And then some like bonus macros that are kind of niche is on my hunter, I have into all like most of my rotation. So like barb shot, cobra shot, I think maybe even kill command. I have each of those are actually macros. They're not just the spells on my action bars. So every time I press barb shot, it's actually cancel aura aspect of the turtle and then / cast barb shot. And so what this does is it just makes it, say you press turtle because there's an AoE coming out, so you want a turtle, the AoE goes off, and then instead of having to press turtle again to cancel it, you just keep doing your rotation and it automatically cancels it. And of course, if you don't have turtle, then it doesn't do anything, so it doesn't really matter. So I do the same thing with mage with ice block. I have into my like fireball, frostbolt, I think that's what it's called, ice lance, like any spell that you need to cast. I just have it macroed to cancel ice block as well. So I just say I have a debuff that I need to clear or I'm immuning some AoE effect. I ice block, and the second it's over, you just go back to doing your rotation. You don't have to worry about like pressing ice block again and then going through. It's like a small thing, but it just, there's no reason not to really, because if you're pressing barb shot in turtle, like I don't know, like if you're doing a rotation anyway, you want turtle to be off. So it's just removing one step from something that you have to worry about. Then lastly, for the bonus macros is on my druid. I have this linked in the list. It seems kind of complicated, but it's really easy. Basically, it's just like a stance conditional macro. So it's like if you're in cat form, then it'll cast rake. And then if you're in not cat form, it'll cast wrath. So basically, you don't have to have all these different keybinds. Like I have it on my mouse where one of my buttons, if I'm in cat form, is shred. And if I'm not in cat form, it's starfire. And if I'm mousing over my friendly parties, then it's regrowth. So it's all the same one button, but depending on what I'm doing or what I'm mousing over, then it'll cast a different spell. Thank you guys for watching, as always. Thanks for following me on Twitch for those of you that found me. I always forget to say that, but I stream on Twitch, so come find me, NarnarTV. I'm happy to answer whatever questions I can. I'm not like a turbo expert or anything, but I have ran a lot of dungeons. So if you're kind of in the intermediate level, I could probably answer some questions for you. Maybe. I don't know. Find out. Also, check out my mug. I love this mug. It's actually mad cute. Came out like better than I thought it was going to be. But I like it because it has like the Narnar logo. This is like exclusively right hand oriented though. Sorry, lefties. I could probably make a left hand version too. Anyway. So yeah, it's got like the logo and then the don't get tilted on the back. So like as you're drinking it, you could remind yourself don't get tilted. Say you wipe in a key, but like you can't release because you're in a boss fight or something. Take a sip of your tea, don't get tilted, you know. Pretty nice. All right, see you guys next time. Thanks.